Despite spending countless hours trying to figure out how to start your personal statement and rewriting that introduction, you still have no idea how to start. Well, you're in the perfect place, as this video is designed to be an exercise to help you follow along and create the basis and foundation of your personal statement. And hopefully by the end of it, you'll understand the structure of a personal statement and exactly what you want to include to make yourself stand out to universities. Now, before we start, let me quickly introduce myself. Hi, I'm Ishan. I'm a third-year medical student at UCL, and my personal statement got me interviews at Oxford, UCL, King's, and Birmingham. And also, I've given this talk at schools, and it's been really, really helpful for people to start their personal statement. Now, there's two things I want to note before we start. First of all, some of the advice might be specific to medical applicants because that's my experience, but all of the advice is still very applicable to everyone that's applying to any university course, and it's meant to be quite a generalized exercise. Secondly, this video is not an extensive how to do good in the personal statement video. It's to help you start and create something really strong as a first draft, and then beyond that, you can start editing and improving. If you guys want another video on how to do well in the personal statement, please do let me know in the comments. Okay, so let's get straight into the exercise with part one being the list. Now, what do I mean by the list? Now, this list is essentially going to be anything you want to cover in your personal statement that you think is impressive and you might want to talk about. You're going to write it down right now. So you want to split it into a few categories. So the four main ones that I'd want to talk about are work experience, academic experience, super-curriculars, and extracurriculars. And we'll go into each one in detail. And now I truly believe that the best ways to gain value from this video is to have a pen and paper at the ready and continuously write as I describe things, because it's meant to be like a guided exercise. And that way you're actually actively involved and learning what to include in your personal statement and how you can phrase it. Okay, so let's start the list. So first of all, work experience. Now you want to include any kind of work experience you've done. It could be online, it can be in person. So for medical applicants, it could be shadowing at a GP practice, shadowing at a hospital. It could be volunteering at a pharmacy, volunteering during COVID-19 at a vaccination clinic. Now for each experience in your list, you want to have your subheading, so work experience, and underneath it, you just want to mention what experience it was. So it could be shadowed so-and-so doctor at so-and-so hospital in so-and-so ward. And then finally, just pick up one detail potentially that you might want to write about. So a certain patient that you saw, or a certain interaction that happened, or maybe a certain skill that you picked up from doing this experience. Now remember, there is absolutely no experience that is too big or too small to be mentioned in this list. This list is just for you, and it's just to use as a guidance because we are going to remove stuff from it later. So right now, write absolutely everything. So anything you think that you might be able to include in this list, please start writing it right now. Anything you can mention. It could be something that you've done, something that you've watched, something that you're planning to do even. Just write it down and then maybe highlight it in like a red color because you haven't done it yet. But still mention it because you can start to piece together what your personal statement might look like by just creating a list of potential things to mention. Okay, the next thing in our list is going to be academic experience. So now academic experience is going to cover scholarships, awards, and prizes. So it could be anything from getting first in your school in the maths exam. It could be a certain scholarship that you picked up through the school or through an external source, but still related to academics. Or it could be prizes that you've got in the junior math challenge or the biology Olympiad, something along those lines. Now, personally, I didn't have any of that and I didn't mention it, but if you have it, it's definitely something impressive. And again, if you can mention the skills that you picked up from it, it is definitely good to include in your personal statement. Next, we've got super-curriculars. Now, this is really, really important. Super-curriculars are anything related to your subjects that is outside of the curriculum. So that can include anything like online courses, any podcasts you listen to, if you started a podcast yourself, any articles or journal articles that you've read, anything that you've written yourself, anything that you've researched, just going online, speaking to doctors or speaking to any kind of professional in the industry and asking them what their life is like or asking them what they do and how you can improve yourself in that subject. That can all count as part of super-curriculars. It can include documentaries, it can include any experiences you've had at summer school. Keep thinking about these things and start writing them down because it's really going to help you to have a nice list of anything you've mentioned. So for example, I had a Future Learn course that I did on medicinal chemistry, which explored chemotherapy. I'd write that down. Then I wrote an article about COVID-19 and vaccinations. I wrote that down. I started a podcast with my friend where we started simplifying medicine and medical topics. I wrote that down as part of this list in my super-curriculars. And over time, your list is going to start to build. So please, again, don't feel afraid to write anything you possibly can down because you can always remove it later. But at the moment, try and make this list as extensive and broad as you possibly can. Okay, the final thing we want to mention in this list is extracurriculars. So extracurriculars is anything you've done outside of school or outside of the curriculum that isn't actually directly related to your subject. So it can be any sport you've played, volunteering you've done, but again, outside of the field you're trying to enter, any music you play, any coaching you do, anything you work with other people. If you have a part-time job, if you have a responsibility at school, if you're like a prefect or a house captain, all of that can count as part of extracurriculars. And again, try and mention everything you possibly can and try and make it sound cooler and better than it actually is. Because at the end of the day, it's you selling yourself and nothing else. So if it's a house captain, then mention that you were the lead house captain out of 500 members of the school. And that's gonna be a lot more impressive than just saying, oh, I was house captain alongside 3 other people. You need to make sure that you sell yourself the best you possibly can, but obviously don't lie and pretend you've done something if you haven't. Now again, as you write this list, remember that you can include any experiences you can think of, and in extracurricular, it's completely up to you. Now say there's a hobby that you enjoy, say you go to chess club every week. You might not be amazing at chess, but the fact that you love it and you're trying to improve at it is something that is impressive, and it's something useful to mention because it shows that you have a life outside of the thing that you're trying to work on, and also you can pick up different skills from external sources and apply them. So say for example, you do something like sports coaching, so I was a badminton coach, you can mention how it's improved your communication skills, how it's helped you work in a team, how it helps you build a rapport with people, and those are all important skills when you're applying for something like medicine. So remember, anything you've done so far, just again, mention it. I'm trying to really hone down this fact that nothing is too small or too big to mention in this list, and it's really important to continuously build on this list and don't be afraid to write anything down. All right, amazing. So now I'm going to assume that you guys have a huge list of many things to mention, and now the next part is starting to highlight or underline the most important things. So under each subheading that you've got, so you've got your work experience, academic experience, super-curriculars, and extracurriculars. For each one, highlight 1 or 2 things that you think are the most impressive or that you really want to mention. Those 2 things or that one thing are something that you're likely to include in your personal statement. So really think about what not only is impressive, but what applies to your course the best. Great, so now we're on to part 3 of the exercise, which is literally the best bit. You're going to start linking these experiences together. And now that link can be absolutely anything. So I'll give you a quick example. Say in your work experience, you experienced how a team works together and you're part of a team for something like Young Enterprise. You can mention that Young Enterprise and this work experience that you had are linked together by the skill of teamwork. But it doesn't have to be just a skill to link 2 things together. So for example, in my super-curriculars paragraph, I actually included a lot of things related to cancer, cancer research, and cancer treatments. So I actually started by reading an article about the evolution of cancer research. And then from there, I started to look at a MOOC regarding medicinal chemistry, as I mentioned earlier. And in that, I learned a lot about chemotherapy and how the drug works and if it's actually the most effective option for treating cancer. And then I wrote an EPQ, again, related to cancer and cancer treatments. So now that paragraph was beautifully linked by this one theme of cancer and cancer treatment. And that way, once you start reading the paragraph, you see how cleanly it flows because it has that link. So make sure you think of different skills, different themes, different ideas that can link different experiences in your list together. And now a lot of people ask me, how do you reflect when it comes to a personal statement, and what is reflection? Now, put very simply, reflection is simply what did you do and what did you learn from that experience? And what are you going to do in the future to consolidate that? So for example, if say you read a book which highlighted the difficulties of being a doctor, and you come to the realization that time management is extremely important as a doctor. So now you've had this experience by reading this book, you've highlighted a skill that you've picked up or what you've learned from this book, which is time management is important. Now you need to mention how you've worked on your time management to make yourself a better doctor, or whatever the industry you're applying for, what skills are important in that. And once you've included a sentence or 2 sentences that include all 3 of those skills, that is reflection, and that is something brilliant to include in your personal statement because it shows this journey that you've gone on. You essentially want to show them a journey of improvement, a journey of realization about what the degree that you want to study is and how you are going to be good at studying that degree. So now I hope you guys have been writing throughout this video, and now you have a nice list with 2 things highlighted under each bullet point. And now you've also got links created between different parts of the list, be it skills or themes that you can start to merge together and start writing your personal statement. So now finally, if you've made it this far in the video, here is my personal statement for you to have a look at. Now the themes or the links for each paragraph are as follows. So the first paragraph is just introduction. My big main paragraph about work experience was all linked together by the theme of surgery. Then my super-curriculars paragraph was linked together by the theme of cancer research. And then this final paragraph just before my extracurriculars was linked together by the idea of COVID-19 and kind of discussing the personal side of it and also the scientific side of it. Now, I really hope this video was helpful and you've now made a start on your personal statement and have a good idea of what to include in it. Please subscribe and all of that stuff for more videos like this, and good luck with your medicine applications.